Welcome to our Coach's Corner feature after a really long night for Purdue. Coach Dave Wood joins us as Purdue, the Boilermakers lose 79-71 to Indiana. Matt Painter said after the game, you got to make shots, and certainly basketball is a game of shooting. It's hard to believe when you out rebound a team by 16. Shoot, what was it, Coach? Purdue shot 21 more free throws, and you lose really handily in the second half. Really impressive performance by Indiana offensively, and Purdue just not making shots. Kind of a bad combination.
Very bad combination, Alan. I think one thing we need to acknowledge is that Indiana is a really, really good basketball team. There's no question Indiana is a great basketball team, and I think I said earlier on this that there is a difference between playing well and shooting well.
Yeah.
And you can play poorly and hit a three at the end of a shot clock and think it was a great possession, or you can play really well and just not make shots. And Purdue missed a lot of easy shots, missed a lot of pretty good opportunities from three. Where they had space and rhythm and just did not knock the shots down really all night. Certainly in the second half, but really all night. I think the 4-point lead at halftime should have been 8 or 10. Just looking at relatively easy shots that Purdue just did not make. And when you don't make shots, you look like you're playing very, very poorly at times. And when you do make shots, it looks like you are just playing great all the time, whether that's true or not. And I thought Indiana played really, really well. I thought Purdue made some key mistakes, especially defensively. But as you said, one of the huge keys in the game was they just simply did not shoot the ball very well at all.
Jalen Hood-Schifino had one of the best performances by Johnny Davis had 37 last year. It was he for a while I thought he was going to have 50 the way that he was playing. But talk about just the way that Purdue or tried to defend, or Hood-Schifino, especially in the second half, got himself, or especially in the first half, got himself, in kind of no man's land where he was shooting over Edey, kind of forcing him to come out, and then again Purdue kind of wasn't able to defend that. How did you view that defensively? And I know you're not going to see a lot of guards as good as Hood-Schifino, but there are other guards you're going to face that have really got talent that you would think in the NCAA tournament. To talk about that.
Well, it was almost all off of a high ball screen.
Yeah.
And Purdue very seldom varies how they deal with a high ball screen, so you know what you're going to get. They fight over the screen, and there were a few times when Brandon Newman actually got over the screen successfully. But for the most part, they were a step behind, and Hood-Schifino did a great job of keeping them behind when that happened, and rising up and making shots and putting Zach Edey in no man's land. Really, do I go after the guy with the ball, or do I get lobbed over and dunked on?
Yeah.
And there was no good choice for him. But sometimes, and they tried to vary it some by doing what coaches call downing the screen and giving him one way instead of either way. But even when Purdue did that, he made great choices, and goodness, it looked like he made every shot, didn't it? And to Indiana's credit, they didn't deviate once they found that play and that action. They deviated from that the rest of the game about twice.
Yeah. 14 for 24 was Jalen Hood-Schifino, but really in the first half, just dominant. 23 points was what it was at the break. He was dominant though when they had to be that way in the second half too. Age is an interesting thing, and again, there's no casting aspersions about the job that Braden Smith and Fletcher Lawyer have done. But you just looked at the rosters last night and the way the game went. Indiana is kind of what Purdue often has been, old in a lot of positions, old with an NBA point guard. Okay, I mean, let's be honest. This is a guy that's going to made himself a lot more money last night just by Jalen Hood-Schifino by playing the way he played. But the Trey Galloways of the world, even Trace Jackson Davis, who was the ultimate decoy last night in a lot of ways. They didn't have a lot for him. Certainly in the first half, he was scoreless. He did have 10 points in the second. But talk about just that and where Purdue is mentally in this season and trying to get over that hump, even though tonight Purdue's likely to end up the Big Ten champion because my guess is Maryland's going to beat Northwestern. But still, psychologically, the Boilermakers have got some hurdles to get over from a confidence standpoint, one would think.
I think confidence always is a big thing. And I think right now, especially offensively, Purdue's confidence might be at an all-time low this year. Yeah. Those young guys struggled. As I said, there's video out there. There's a lot of video out there. Indiana muscled them. They bumped them. They were very aggressive. And the other thing that I would say is that as they say, size matters.
Yeah.
Hood-Schifino and Galloway at 6'5" and 6'6" against 6 foot and 6'4" really was difficult for Purdue. Hard to get shots off, but the physical nature of it was very important for Indiana. I've always believed that freshmen hit a wall at some point. I don't know if Fletcher Lawyer and Braden Smith have hit a wall. But against really good teams, they haven't played quite as well lately. What also happens, Alan, is that competitors and really good players get through that wall. Yeah. And it usually doesn't take a long time to get through that wall. Matt Painter's job, I think, right now is to help these guys gain confidence, get confidence. All the way down the line. Right now Purdue is a one-man team offensively.
Yeah.
They are a one-man team offensively. It's either Zach-Edey or nobody at this moment. And that has to change if they're going to compete in the NCAA tournament to a great degree. And I think they'll get that done. But there's some work to be done, especially mentally. It's 80% of the game is mental and the other half is physical, right? That's Yogi Bear's thought. And I think the 80% mental right now is a big thing for Purdue.
Yeah, no question on that standpoint. That was the alarm going off that it's go time for the Boilermakers. No, it's funny, interesting, because Braden Smith, outside of the 2 for 11, but look at 8 rebounds, 6 assists, 2 turnovers, but it's glaring when you go 2 for 11 from the field. Fletcher Lawyer, 4 for 12 from the field, 5 rebounds. But yes, it is very evident, and especially when Purdue got in a funk last night, it just didn't seem like they were going to get out of it, and they didn't. I mean, you got to the 10-minute mark of the second half, and you say Indiana all of a sudden pushed ahead and pushed the lead out. The Hoosiers were sailing from that standpoint. Indiana, why? And you've coached teams. Why is this? Why can Indiana play like they do at Michigan State? Now, I know Michigan State had an emotional situation. It is just a funny game in terms of, even Mike Woodson said it last night, Indiana is a really good basketball team sometimes, and they were last night in a terrific effort. But give us an answer why this is, Coach. This is crazy because Indiana has not played this way on the road.
It's an interesting game played by young guys and their ups and downs. You talked about Braden and Fletcher and their stats. Once again, there's a difference between playing well and shooting well.
Yeah,
no I think that you'll look at those stats and think, okay, they played a pretty decent game. They just didn't shoot the ball in the basket. And when that happens, it looks like you play very poorly. How do you get, Indiana, I thought early in the season was very poor.
Yeah.
Frankly, they were very poor, and Mike Woodson's done a great job. But it's when these guys decide to play, there are few teams better than they are in the country. If they don't decide to play, they look like an NBA team who's played 3 games in 4 nights, and 2 of them they've been on planes and they don't feel like playing that night.
Yeah.
Which Indiana team's going to show up? Certainly against Purdue twice, the really good Indiana team showed up.
All right. Well said. Interesting, disappointing. Certainly, there was an unbelievable crowd last night, a great atmosphere, and Indiana pulls out a 79-71 win. The Boilermakers head to Wisconsin Thursday. And I know one last question just on the Badgers, also a team that's had a real up and down season. We know what Wisconsin often is, plotting, but yeah, it's got good guard play. It there'll be no cakewalk on Thursday night in Madison, as well as there really is never is that way when you go to the Kohl Center.
Always tough to play at the Kohl Center. Wisconsin's well coached. It'll be interesting. My theory has been that long athletic teams that like to press have been a real challenge for Purdue right now. Wisconsin does not fit that bill.
Yeah.
Neither did Iowa.
Yeah.
Both good teams, both tournament teams, more than likely. And so it'll be interesting to test my theory to see if the fact that athletically Wisconsin and Purdue are relatively similar, and see if that bodes well for the Boilermakers. But both teams have a lot at stake Thursday night, for sure. And so I think both teams will be really, really, really on edge, ready to play. It'll be a great game.
Yeah, no doubt. All right. This is a form of talk therapy for Purdue fans. Yeah, sometimes when you have a game like you did last night, you just got to work your way through it and move on to the next one. So, Coach, thanks so much for your time. Always great insight. We appreciate it very much. We'll look forward to more as we get to continue to the apex of this season. And there is still a lot of basketball to be played.
No question. No question. Thank you, Alan.